Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to walk you through Unit 1, Session 3. This is where we really get into how did the progressives try to change America? What were some of their goals in solving some of the problems of the Gilded Age? So let's jump right into it. Here's our session plan, some of the standards that we'll focus on this week, your to-do list, and a suggested schedule. Note that this session is actually due on a Tuesday after Labor Day. You're going to watch a video from Crash Course U.S. History. Be aware these videos from Crash Course go pretty quickly. So when you're watching them, my goal is not necessarily that you're going to remember absolutely everything in the video, but that you get sort of an overall picture of what's happening in the time period. Okay, so you get that basic overview. Then you're going to read through some main goals of the progressive era. There's a graphic organizer here to help you wrap your brain around that. You want to pay attention to what settlement houses are and what were they trying to promote. You're going to want to focus on the temperance movement, as well as some various political reforms in the way that people elected officials, as well as some economic reforms here. All right, so you can take a look at those details. Then you're going to watch a video about the progressive era, and as you're watching, do take notes on key ideas and terms. I'll give you some hints. Settlement house, suffragists, temperance, these are all terms that you're going to see again on the quiz for this week. There is a copy of the video right here, but if you want a higher quality version of it, you can just click on this link right here and enter the username of J21VA student and password of J21VA. That'll give you access to this video in a higher quality if you want to see that. All right. Then what you're going to do is take a quiz on the next page. And yes, if you do watch these videos, you can occasionally catch a glimpse of what's going to be on the quiz, just like you did there. All right, so you're going to take this quiz. You may use your notes. There are 2 attempts, and it has a 15-minute time limit. If you take it more than once, you will receive an average of the 2 scores. All right, then we're going to talk a little bit about muckrakers. The muckrakers were essentially journalists who gave themselves the task of exposing corruption in the government, exposing corruption in big businesses, and so they were given the name muckrakers because they were mucking mud, essentially, on various people. So you want to become familiar with that. And then you're going to work a little bit with the progressive amendments. We would consider amendments 16, 17, 18, and 19 to the Constitution to be progressive amendments. They were all passed during this time period in order to answer some of the questions that the country was dealing with. So choose one that you think is interesting, and then you're going to complete a project on it. Quick reminder about constitutional amendments, because this is something you're going to need to be able to explain in your project for your particular amendment. It's proposed one of 2 ways, by 2/3 of the members of both the House and the Senate, or by a convention called by 2/3 of the states. Okay, so that's how we get an amendment out there in the first place. It is ratified by being approved by 3/4 of the state legislatures, or by 3/4 of the ratifying conventions in the states. Okay, so when this so you're going to research one of these amendments, become an expert on it, understand what was this amendment all about, and what was the process that it went through in order to become a law? Who was to get in the Constitution? Who was supporting it? What were some of the big figures? You know, did it start being first having support in the East and then it moved west, or how did that all work? Okay, for each amendment. You're going to make sure that you can answer these questions. How did it gain approval from the public and eventually get the votes needed to become part of the Constitution? In other words, what process happened to create this amendment? How did it reflect the progressive ideal that government has the responsibility to protect its citizens and ensure equal rights? So how does this amendment line up with the progressive ideal? Did this amendment increase or decrease our freedoms, and in what way? And how does this amendment still impact us today? Now, I'm going to warn you that the Prohibition Amendment is in there, but it does still impact us even today because of various other prohibition-like movements and how we have reacted to them. Okay, so once you have a good grasp on those questions, you're going to create something to educate the rest of the class. Remember that there are only 4 amendments that we're looking at here. You're studying one of them, but you want to know the rest of the class to know about your amendment, and you're going to learn about the other 3 from other people's projects. So you can decide how you want to present that information to the class. You can create a pamphlet, you could do a podcast, you could do a video, you could create a website. It's completely up to you what you create, but your goal is to educate the rest of the class about your amendment and answer these 4 questions within that product, okay? Let's see, I linked some tools down here that are things you might want to play with, different ways that you can do this amendment. Now, if you feel overwhelmed by creating this amendment project, let me know. I can absolutely help you in choosing what your product's going to be and how to present it, okay? Then we're going to turn in your amendment project to this discussion board. That way we can all see each other's projects and we can all learn about all of the amendments, not just the one that we studied. The rubric is listed here. Make sure you take a look at that. The first section is just asking about how well do you explain the amendment, how well do you show me what you know about this amendment and the process for getting it ratified. The second category is asking about that question that specifically says, did this increase or decrease our freedoms and in what way? So make sure you get that into your project. This next one's asking about the quality of the writing, how much detail are you giving me and how much support. And the last one's asking you about that connection to today. So in what ways is your project demonstrating how this amendment still impacts us today? Okay, so those are the things you want to make do. You want to make sure you get it in on time as well, so you avoid that late penalty. That brings us to the look ahead. At this point, we've talked about all that legislation, and you may have noticed we've spent a lot of time talking about Progressive Standard number 1. In our next session, we're going to jump into talking about imperialism and the way that that impacted America's role in the entire world. All right? So let me know if you have questions, and have a great week, everyone. Thanks.